Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. We're grinding to hit 1,000 subscribers, and we need your support to keep bringing you the realest NFL content out there. Every subscription helps us grow this community, so smash that button, turn on notifications, and let's build something special together. Now let's get into today's topic because things are getting absolutely wild in Cleveland. Albert Breer dropped a bomb yesterday in his column on SI, confirming what Mike Silver reported about the Browns getting trade offers for Deshaun Watson on the Saturday morning of draft weekend. Think about that for a second. Teams were ready to take him in the 4th round. The 4th round. That's not just surprising, that's straight up shocking when you consider everything that's happened with Watson in Cleveland. His job security just evaporated faster than fans leaving the stadium during a 4th quarter blowout when you're down by 30. We're finally back with some Cleveland Browns analysis following their first preseason game down in Carolina, which means we got to see Jameis Winston get some action. And let me tell you, he looked sharp out there in his first preseason showing. The energy was different, the command was there, and now everyone's asking the same question: should Jameis be getting more reps with the first team? Because after Winston went out there and lit up the Panthers like he was playing Madden on the easiest difficulty setting, the rumors started absolutely exploding. Social media went crazy. Talk shows couldn't stop debating it. Everyone wants to know, was that performance the one that sealed Watson's fate? Or is this just another chapter of NFL drama turned up to maximum volume? Because let's be real, this isn't just football anymore. This is primetime chaos, and I'm here for every second of it. The reason I'm so excited about all this is because this is exactly what we've been waiting for. We've been sitting here for months waiting for this type of energy to hit Cleveland. Deshaun Watson's situation has turned into a full-blown soap opera with helmets, pads, and egos crashing harder than linebackers blitzing up the middle on 3rd and long. Watson's Cleveland chapter might already be turning into one of those Netflix series that gets canceled before the main character even figures out the plot twist. And the star stealing all the spotlight right now, none other than Jameis Winston, the veteran presence Cleveland didn't just want at the beginning of the season, but the guy they're realizing they might actually need moving forward. So the Cleveland reporters finally asked Watson about the narrative that's been spinning around his name for weeks now. You could see him processing the information, trying to keep his composure while everyone in that press room knew exactly what they were really asking about. After what Jameis did to Carolina in his starting preseason debut, fans are already talking about whether this team looks different with Winston under center. It's almost poetic in a tragic way, except instead of love songs and sunset endings, we're talking touchdowns, roaring crowds, and the sound of Watson's starting job security crashing faster than a dropped phone hitting concrete from 5 stories up. Now I know Watson was supposedly the franchise cornerstone when they traded for him. Russell Wilson is pretty mobile too, but can we talk about the elephant in the room here? Can we be somewhat objective about what we're actually seeing on the field at some point? I'm tired of pretending everything's fine when the tape tells a completely different story. Yes, I know Watson has the pedigree. I know what he did in Houston before everything fell apart. Russell Wilson, for comparison, has proven way more in recent years despite his own struggles. That's just the reality of where things stand right now. The Browns handed Jameis the opportunity in that preseason game, and he didn't just play, he absolutely performed. He showed up like he had something to prove, like he was saying, remember my name, remember what I can do, and he left the Panthers defense looking like they accidentally skipped every defensive meeting that entire week. This wasn't just a solid performance, this was a masterclass in how to seize an opportunity and make everyone watching question everything they thought they knew about the quarterback situation. That's what we're gonna keep seeing too as this situation develops. The look test matters in the NFL. What does a quarterback look like in the pocket? Is he going to get swallowed up when pressure's coming and defenders are closing in to where he can't see downfield? That's where certain quarterbacks play bigger than their physical stature. They've got that ability to find the perfect launching point within the pocket, that magical way of locating the soft spot in the defense to deliver throws downfield. That's what separates the good from the great, but man, I'm genuinely interested in how this whole situation plays out. I really am, and with Watson, how healthy is he with all the injury concerns that have been floating around? Will he actually start when the regular season kicks off, or are we headed for something nobody saw coming? Deshaun Watson's been grinding all offseason, working through drills, pushing through practices, trying to prove to everyone in that building and around the league that he's still got what it takes. Reports indicate we might be entering either a Watson week or a backup quarterback week in terms of who gets the majority of first-team reps. I'm not entirely sure which scenario we're looking at, and honestly, I'm not sure how excited I should be about one of those possibilities, but I'm definitely intrigued about Watson getting extended opportunities if that's the direction they go. I thought after yesterday's performance we were going to continue riding the momentum from that game. I thought this was going to turn into a let's see what we really have here situation with extended playing time for multiple guys. I think after what we saw, I'm satisfied with getting more evaluation time. I was expecting this to turn into a deeper dive on the entire quarterback room, not just one guy. But here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to say out loud. That preseason performance proved one quarterback's engine is running like a brand new sports car, while the other's running on fumes like a vehicle that's been pushing past its expiration date for way too long. What do you realistically expect to see from Deshaun Watson moving forward? All accounts suggest he's going to play in upcoming games and get his opportunities. What are you specifically looking for from him? Not much has changed in terms of expectations, if we're being completely honest. And for context and to be totally fair about this evaluation, I had questions about Watson before he even got to Cleveland, and I had different expectations for what Winston could provide as a veteran backup. I think if the roles had been different from the start, if the contract situations were reversed, that would give the Browns an opportunity to make decisions without the massive financial implications hanging over everything. You can compete all you want in training camp. You can win every practice rep, but when those stadium lights come on and 70,000 fans are locked in and screaming, the real quarterback shows up. The guy who can handle that moment reveals himself. And let's keep it real, Watson hasn't consistently passed that test this season, which is why the Browns front office is suddenly acting real friendly with other teams when the phone rings. And they're not even being subtle about it anymore. Word is out across the league. Cleveland is officially listening to conversations about Watson, which in NFL executive speak means we'll deny everything at the press conference and say all the right things about competition. But if your offer makes financial sense and maybe you can help us with that contract situation, we'll definitely talk. This isn't a we believe in both guys storyline anymore. This is one guy represents a possible future, while the other represents an expensive past that might need to be addressed. And the Browns are essentially telegraphing to the entire league that they're open to solutions before things get even more complicated. Again, I know Jameis Winston looked really solid the other day in that preseason game. It wasn't absolutely perfect from the opening snap, I'll admit that. But as a veteran coming in to provide stability in the first preseason game of the year, you have to cut him some slack. That's not an easy situation to walk into. He overcame some early timing issues and communication problems and ended up performing really well as the game progressed and he got into a rhythm with the receivers. Now let's really break down the game that set this entire fire blazing across Cleveland sports media. Jameis Winston, in his role as the veteran backup, walked onto that field like a guy who's been in this league long enough to know exactly what he's doing. Composure? Check. Accuracy on most of his throws? Check. That veteran confidence and command that made the Panthers' secondary look like they were running around confused, trying to figure out their assignments? Double check. He wasn't just completing passes, he was dissecting defensive coverages like a surgeon who's performed the same operation 1,000 times. Every dropback had purpose. Every read looked crisp. The crowd started getting louder with each completion, waiting for something special to happen, and more often than not, boom, he delivered exactly what they needed to see. It was command, it was experience, it was pure quarterback presence on full display from a guy who knows this is his chance to prove he's still got it. Meanwhile, Deshaun Watson is dealing with a completely different reality, and you can see it in his body language. He fought through camp, took every rep seriously even when the whispers started getting louder, grinded through the sweat and pressure and media scrutiny, and now he's processing what it means when a veteran backup comes in and runs the offense that smoothly. It's like preparing for months for a huge presentation at work, putting together every slide perfectly, only to watch your colleague walk in with no preparation and absolutely nail it off the cuff while everyone applauds. Brutal situation, but credit where it's due. Jameis earned that positive reaction with his performance. He's earned the conversation. He showed that he was still capable of running an NFL offense at a high level, not just a guy holding a clipboard. The whole situation has moved beyond speculation at this point into legitimate quarterback controversy territory. He demonstrated the kind of veteran savvy that teams value, the kind of experience that shows up when it matters most. And now after that performance, he has the entire league talking. Taking over or even competing for a starting job with a team like the Browns isn't for the faint of heart. Cleveland fans have watched so many quarterback situations implode over the years that they've become experts at spotting trouble before it fully develops. They've seen the hope, the hype, the inevitable disappointment. They don't get excited easily anymore because they've been burned too many times. But that preseason performance, that didn't just result in a win for the team. It gave Cleveland fans something they haven't felt in a while regarding the quarterback position: options. That's basically a miracle in itself when you're talking about a franchise with this much quarterback trauma in its history. We're talking generational levels of disappointment that this fan base has endured. And the front office, they absolutely see what everyone else sees. They can't keep pretending this is business as usual when the performance gap is becoming increasingly obvious to everyone watching. Jameis Winston isn't necessarily the perfect long-term answer, but he's showing he's capable right now. He's standing next to a guy who came in with massive expectations and a contract that handicapped the entire franchise, and he's making that expensive acquisition look questionable through nothing but solid play. Cleveland's front office has some serious thinking to do. There's no question about that. If circumstances change, if the situation demands a move, if that phone rings with the kind of offer that makes financial sense, Watson might be facing a reality he never expected when he first agreed to come to Cleveland. Even the defense seems to have a different energy when they see competent quarterback play because they know the offense might actually sustain drives and keep them off the field. It's like when a new person joins a struggling team at work and suddenly the entire dynamic shifts because everyone realizes things might actually function properly now. You can feel the change in the building even if nobody wants to admit it publicly. And let's be completely honest here, Jameis didn't stumble into positive reviews. He earned them through preparation and execution. His performance wasn't just adequate or good enough. It was the kind of tape that makes coaches go back and watch every throw multiple times, asking themselves important questions about the depth chart. Winston was reading coverages like he had the answers written on his wristband, cool and collected like he'd seen every defensive look 100 times before. The man looked comfortable out there, like he was vibing through progressions while delivering accurate throws to all levels of the field. Those intermediate passes, those were statements to everyone watching that said, I can still play this game at a high level. It was smooth, it was efficient, and it was exactly what you want to see from a veteran in that situation. Meanwhile, Deshaun Watson is stuck in an incredibly difficult position, and the awkwardness is becoming impossible to ignore. After watching Jameis pick apart Carolina's defense like it was a basic coverage scheme he'd seen a million times, most people around the league are thinking about the bigger picture. Why invest everything into one expensive quarterback when veteran options exist who can manage games effectively? It's tough logic, but that's how this league operates. Still, the NFL runs on hope and quarterback potential. Those are the two most valuable commodities in football. Even quarterbacks with questionable recent performance can catch someone's eye because there's always a coach or general manager somewhere thinking they can unlock something special if they just get that player into their specific system with their specific coaches. That's probably why the Browns front office can't stop taking phone calls and listening to proposals. They know this might be their window to explore options while there's still trade value to discuss and financial relief to potentially gain. And Cleveland fans, they've already formed their opinions, and social media makes those opinions impossible to ignore. The internet is buzzing right now with debates, arguments, hot takes flying in every direction. You've got one group pointing to Winston's preseason performance as proof that veteran stability matters. You've got another group defending Watson's contract and pedigree, saying he deserves more time. Fan accounts are posting comparison videos, breaking down every throw, analyzing every decision. The discourse is everywhere. Meanwhile, poor Watson has become the center of uncomfortable conversations, and not the kind any athlete wants to be part of. When your name starts trending for reasons that have nothing to do with highlight plays, that's when you know the situation has gotten complicated. Now, to be absolutely clear, Deshaun Watson's NFL career isn't over by any stretch of the imagination. He's still got talent, he's still got physical tools that most most quarterbacks would dream of having. But his path forward is about to require some serious navigation and probably some difficult conversations. Because let's face it, Jameis didn't just have a decent preseason game, he performed well enough to make everyone in that organization think about possibilities they might not have considered before. It wasn't just okay, it was legitimately good quarterback play, and that changes calculations. And the Browns organization has been through too much, paid too high a price in draft capital and salary cap space to make emotional decisions at this point. They've been burned before, they've made mistakes, they're not interested in repeating history. Will the Browns actually make a significant move before the season really gets rolling? Will some team looking for quarterback help make a call with a proposal that makes sense financially, offering to take on some of that massive contract while giving Cleveland a path forward? Or is Watson stuck in this uncomfortable situation, trying to reclaim his position while a veteran backup has suddenly given everyone reasons to question the hierarchy? Either way, you have to acknowledge the obvious. The message being sent right now, whether intentional or not, is that nothing is guaranteed anymore, and performance matters more than past reputation or contract numbers. Winston is known as a quarterback who takes chances, who isn't afraid to push the ball downfield, even when it means occasionally making mistakes. That's always been his profile. But there's something important to consider here that often gets overlooked in these debates. Winston has played behind some really rough offensive lines during his career. He spent entire seasons running for his life, making plays under duress, getting hit constantly because of protection breakdowns. That's context that matters when you're evaluating quarterback performance. He hasn't always had the same level of protection or weapons that some other quarterbacks have enjoyed. You have to factor that into any honest evaluation of what he's accomplished and what he's capable of doing in the right situation. For anyone still desperately clinging to the idea that this is still a wide open quarterback competition where everything's up for grabs, I've got some bad news. When a veteran backup steps into a preseason game, executes the offense efficiently, leads scoring drives, and turns your offense into something that actually looks competent while the expensive starter is watching from the sideline, that's not friendly competition anymore. That's a situation developing. The Browns aren't broadcasting it with press releases. They're way too smart for that kind of public drama. But succession planning is happening whether anyone wants to acknowledge it or not. Cleveland might have found something with their veteran presence. The Panthers got embarrassed by solid execution and experience. And Deshaun Watson has some serious thinking to do about his future and what his role might look like going forward. If you're sitting there expecting some heartwarming redemption arc where Watson magically reclaims unanimous starting job security and rides off into the sunset with everything resolved perfectly, you're watching the wrong sport. This isn't a Disney movie. It's the National Football League, where performance dictates everything and contracts mean nothing if you can't produce on Sundays. And in this league, when someone comes in and performs efficiently when given the opportunity, doors start opening for conversations that weren't happening before. No hesitation, no sentimentality, just cold evaluation of what gives the team the best chance to win. Jameis Winston didn't just have a decent preseason outing, he potentially changed the trajectory of an entire quarterback room with one solid performance. The locker room noticed, the coaching staff noticed, the fan base definitely noticed, and most importantly, the front office noticed, because they're the ones who have to make actual decisions with real consequences. Watson might still have his locker, he might still have his massive contract guaranteed, but the narrative has shifted whether he wants to admit it or not. The writing's becoming increasingly clear even if nobody's ready to say it out loud yet. The competition is real, and that's probably the most uncomfortable truth for everyone involved. And honestly, that pressure might actually be healthy for the situation, because nothing forces accountability like legitimate competition breathing down your neck. Nothing says welcome to reality like having to defend your position every single day because someone behind you on the depth chart just proved they're capable of running the offense. Imagine being Deshaun Watson right now trying to process this entire situation. The man worked hard all offseason, showed up ready to compete, put in the hours in meetings and film study, sweating through conditioning and 7-on-7 drills, talking about earning respect and proving doubters wrong, and now his biggest storyline might end up being the backup quarterback controversy that nobody saw coming. All that preparation, all those early morning workouts, all that I'm ready to lead this team energy, and for what? Just to watch Jameis Winston come in during a preseason game, execute efficiently against Carolina, and suddenly become part of a legitimate conversation about the depth chart moving forward. It's an incredibly difficult situation to navigate, but that's the harsh reality of professional football. Talent and production talk louder than off-season optimism and expensive contracts. And performance, that consistent, reliable performance, is what really separates quarterbacks at this level. Watson had his moments in camp, sure, but you can't manufacture that veteran presence that Winston showed in live game action. And Jameis has it naturally. After all these years in the league, he walks into the huddle like he's been running NFL offenses since he could walk, calm and confident and completely in control of the situation. That first preseason drive looked like it came from a guy who's called protections and run 2-minute drills 1,000 times. Meanwhile, Watson's probably dealing with frustration and confusion about how quickly narratives can shift in this league, wondering if this is really happening or if it's just preseason overreaction that will settle down once real games start. You could feel something different in that stadium the moment Jameis Winston jogged onto the field for his first series. The energy wasn't just normal preseason interest, it was genuine curiosity about what they were about to see. Fans were already buzzing before he even took the first snap, and after that opening drive resulted in points, social media absolutely exploded. Browns fans were going crazy, posting reactions, making declarations, changing their entire perspective on what this season might look like. They've experienced flashes of hope before, countless times actually, but this felt different to a lot of people watching. This wasn't luck or one broken play resulting in a big gain. This was efficient, smart, veteran quarterback play that sustained drives and put points on the board. The Panthers defense looked overmatched trying to adjust to the tempo and execution, completely unable to get off the field. Up in those executive suites, you absolutely know the Browns leadership was exchanging knowing glances, having quiet conversations about what they were witnessing and what it might mean moving forward. Well, I guess we might have more options than we thought we had. But here's where it gets really complicated. Potentially finding a solution at quarterback with your veteran backup creates an entirely new problem regarding your expensive starter and his massive guaranteed contract. The speculation isn't just message board conspiracy theories anymore. It's becoming mainstream discussion on every sports platform. Of course, Cleveland won't publicly acknowledge any of this. They'll stick to the standard we support all our guys' responses and pretend everything's fine and under control. But come on, everyone knows what's happening beneath the surface. The league's full of general managers who convince themselves they can resurrect struggling quarterbacks if they just get them into their building with their coaches and their system. It's the NFL version of buying a fixer-upper house, because you're absolutely convinced you can renovate it into something beautiful even though every contractor is telling you it's a money pit. Sometimes it works out great, but most of the time you end up spending way more than you planned with nothing to show for it. Still, you have to give Watson credit for his professionalism through all of this. The man hasn't publicly complained or created drama. He's still showing up every day, still taking coaching, still preparing like he's the unquestioned starter, even though the questions are getting louder by the day. But the fundamental issue is that Jameis isn't giving him any breathing room by struggling or looking unprepared. Every solid practice, every efficient preseason drive, every veteran decision just highlights the contrast between what could be and what currently is. And at this point, calling this a quarterback competition is just organizational politeness. It's a formality they have to maintain for PR purposes. The truth is becoming increasingly obvious to anyone paying attention. Cleveland has some serious evaluating to do about what gives them the best chance to win games this season. The future isn't written yet, but the present circumstances are creating questions that need answers sooner rather than later. Deshaun Watson is the expensive investment with the guaranteed money and the pedigree from his Houston days. Jameis Winston is the veteran insurance policy who suddenly looks like he might be more than just emergency depth. As for Watson, he's probably hoping that if any change comes, the next situation includes better protection, a patient coaching staff, and maybe an organization without quite so much recent quarterback trauma in its history. This is been real talk about a real situation developing in Cleveland that nobody expected to be this complicated. Make sure you're subscribed because this story is far from over. Hit that like button if you made it this far, drop a comment below with your thoughts on where this situation goes from here, and I'll catch you in the next one when we break down whatever happens next in this developing quarterback saga.